Hey everybody, it's Golazo time. On our weekend preview, we have James Benge and Jimmy Conrad to discuss a seriously crazy weekend ahead. Arsenal against Manchester United, Chelsea against Burnley, Man City against Sheffield United. We have Serie A, La Liga, Bundesliga. We talk about Copa Libertadores final. The United States men's national team also plays a game this weekend. This and so much more. Stay right here. Golazo weekend preview begins right now. Hey everybody, welcome to Golazo. This is our weekend preview, our mammoth weekend preview. Before taping, we were all like, oh my God, there's so many games. Maybe we just won't get over it. It'll be just this marathon 4-hour episode. But no, for the sake of your ears and eyes, we won't do that. And we welcome, of course, Jimmy Conrad. Jimmy, what's up, bud?
You know, just chilling, but I'm excited. Big weekend. And of course, being able to do the pod with you and Mr. James Benge is always awesome. And so I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely.
And that was the segue for me to introduce and welcome back James Benge. James, how are you, buddy?
I am great. It's good to be here. I'm already exhausted just looking at our fixtures.
It's so much, and we're not even playing. It's going to be quite a lot. But let's begin, as we always do, with the Premier League, with a gigantic matchup, I think, historically, in terms of the table, in terms of the form, in terms of what's been going on this week. Arsenal hosting Manchester United on Saturday. It's a very big game. Let's begin, Jimmy Conrad, with your odds straight away.
Oh, man, I wish we had a drum roll for that. Good value here, I think, straight up in this match. Arsenal to win is plus 185. The draw is plus 240. And United to win, they haven't lost at home or away from home, excuse me, plus 145. And over a year. Geez, I'm all over the place with this. There's so many games, everybody. So anyway, what I'll say about this, I think Arsenal, for me, have been really impressive. They showed incredible resiliency when their backs are against the wall a bit. There was some talk of Arteta getting fired heading into January. They had then went on a 6-game unbeaten run and then lost to Southampton in the cup. And you think, it was a pretty disappointing performance. And I know Benge is a diehard Arsenal fan will be like, yeah, that was pretty lackluster. Didn't take their chances. Seemed too casual in some ways. Had to play Southampton a few days later and did the business. And I thought Lacazette was fantastic in that game. However, I went and did some research, everybody. Manchester United have not lost back-to-back games in the league all season. And as I mentioned, they're very good away from home. I wonder how they're going to perform in this one after losing to Sheffield United. That is a big surprise. I don't know why. Sheffield United just seems to have Manchester United's number. So when I take all this into consideration, I really feel like this is a 1-1 draw. It's written 1-1 draw written all over it, and that's the best value. I see plus 240 here. I don't think Aubameyang's going to play. He's got those personal things going on, and obviously that just weighs heavy on you. And I hope everything's going okay for him and his family. But Lacazette has really stepped up for me. I think he's going to score in this one. I think Rashford will score as well. I like 1-1. That's plus 240. If you want Rashford to score anytime, plus 188. Lacazette's plus 110. I do like Odegaard potentially because Smith Rowe could be hurt in this one. Odegaard to come in and get an assist because why not? Plus 225 for that guy to get an assist. Why not? He could maybe come in. He could set somebody up. You know, a good first impression for the Gunner faithful. You know, that's what I'm seeing, Benge. I don't know what you're thinking.
It's really, I mean, it's such a hard game to read because, you know, you expect United to come in with a reaction. I mean, and there's so many things, but from an Arsenal perspective, which obviously is the angle I'm kind of coming at it, there's some really key question marks here. I mean, I'm talking to some people who know Emile Smith Rowe quite well. Sounds like he might be fit. It's really up in the air, his fitness, though, I think. And the same with Partey as well. Now, if you take Partey and Smith Rowe out of this team, I don't see Arsenal having much of a chance at all. I think Partey is already starting to prove that he is one of the best midfielders in the league, can do a little bit of everything. He reminds me of, and I'm really conscious of using this comparison. He reminds me of Patrick Vieira. He dominates games. He would, he would have a field day against Fred and McTominay, let alone, Pogba if he doesn't do his defensive due diligence. Yeah, the front four for Arsenal, if it's that front four that they played in midweek, will really click. Saka is, if he's not the same age as Erling Haaland, I think I can say he's the best player of his age in the world.
Bold, that's bold.
I wouldn't doubt that. I think he's outstanding, and there's just real good understanding between that front four, whether it's Pepe or Martinelli on the left. Some great options. Maybe, again, you might have Tierney back as well. I think if Arsenal are full strength, I think they can win. it's that thing of take a couple of pieces out and they look like a team that would lose. It's really on a knife edge from an Arsenal perspective.
It is on a knife edge. And also when you add, obviously, as well, from both of you, the absentees, the possible absentees, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, as you mentioned, we don't know yet. Arteta didn't confirm yet if he was going to return for that game. Obviously, our thoughts for him and his family. That's way more important than any football game. But regardless, we will have to wait and see if he will take part. From a Manchester United perspective, Eric Bailey, he didn't play midweek. Apparently he will come back, and Lindelof was an unused sub for Manchester United, so that might help a little bit in terms of the back. But I think, to James Benge's point, this is a perfect opportunity for players like Partey to show what they can do. And I'm with you, James. I think Saka is the best player of his age in the world right now. He is absolutely tremendous, and he can be a big headache for this one. Historically, a very big game, of course. We all know about the Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira history, but there's so much more to it than that. But I'm with Jimmy here. I think it's going to be a draw. I see it just both sides, one feeling confident, but also cautious about the run that they're having. And the other one maybe a little bit too cautious over the fact that they just lost a game, which they clearly should have won. So that probably will cancel each other out. But I'm not sure. Jimmy, I'll throw it back to you in terms of this game, if you're sticking with that draw.
I am going to stick with the draw. Last time United played Arsenal, they lost 1-0 at Old Trafford. The following game, they lost to Istanbul Başakşehir in the Champions League group stages in Turkey. And that ultimately led to United dropping out. Had they won that game, even got a draw, they would have been punching their ticket for the knockout rounds. Instead, they dropped to the Europa League. I think they're going to learn from that experience. I think they're going to make sure that there's a firm double pivot, McTominay and Fred. I think they're going to have that box. It's going to be hard for Lacazette to find the space. And I brought up Lacazette earlier. He's been tremendous for me, not only in setting things up, and he set up Saka very well in the Southampton game just most recently. They're just allowing the team to transition a little bit when he holds up the ball in a meaningful way, and allows other players to come into the attack and create the numerical advantages that I think Arsenal are very good at when they have that. If he's not holding up the ball, or whoever plays the 9 spot isn't holding up the ball, Arsenal struggle. And so it's really important for Lacazette to do that. But to what I was saying before about the box, when you have that double pivot, you have McTominay and Fred sitting in front of the two, there's just no space. So it's going to be interesting to see where Lacazette tries to pick it up, if he tries to run the channels a little bit and pull slow center backs, and United have a couple of those out of the spaces and allow other people to run through. It's going to be a great game tactically. My soccer nerd, soccer geek hat on, but I just see a draw here. And as I mentioned, I think United have responded quite well to adversity in the past, haven't dropped back-to-back losses so far this season. I'm going to stick to it. I'll go with the draw again.
James Benge, your final score prediction. What do you think? And any final thoughts from this game?
Yeah, I think probably a draw. It's so hard to call. It's two great teams at the moment, we have to say. Two teams that also look like they could improve over the years to come. But yeah, I can't quite call it. Any results possible.
Bench, how's that fence treating you? Is it comfortable sitting on that fence?
Well, look, I've seen you enjoying it so much. I thought I might.
Okay, I'm done. Thanks, Bench. Appreciate that.
Well, a draw from everybody here, and I think that would benefit everybody, including Manchester United's rival, Man City, which they would like that very much. Obviously, a loss would be better, but they will take advantage of that. All right, moving on in the Premier League. There's so much action, guys. We have to keep going. Let's stay in the Premier League. We've talked about Sheffield United and that win against Man United. Man City up next for them. Jimmy, Conrad, a pretty big game here for Sheffield United. They need to continue points, but you just don't see this again, do you?
No, City are on something fierce right now. I mean, they're so good in so many different ways. What I will say is that they struggle to score multiple goals against Sheffield United. I'm looking right here. The last 2 times they played against each other, City won 1-0. Sheffield United will be coming into this with some momentum. Hey, we beat one Manchester club. Let's go out there and try to beat the other. City and United are much, much different. I think right now in particular, City are very decisive in the box. They're not dicking around by any stretch of the imagination. I feel like since Pep Guardiola came out and announced we were running too much, we needed to run less and let the ball do the work. They have been excellent going forward, scoring multiple goals. There's really no good odds here. I would just kind of look at the over-under, all things considered, because it's just a matter of whether you think Sheffield United could hold them again to a short scoreline, or if you think City's going to continue to just pile in the goals. That's really the big one right now, and those odds for the over-under. I actually don't mind the over 3.5 goals plus 120. That's a lot, but I kind of see a 3-0 City win here. Maybe Sheffield gets one, and that would put you over. The under 3.5 goals is minus 150. So I think the bookies are looking at a lot of goals as well. I don't know what you guys think, but I think this is one-way traffic for City.
Well, I'm just going to throw it to James Benge very quickly. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I could almost see a world where Sheffield United just kind of let this game slide. They've got the United game was the first of 6 games in 18 days. They're going to have to pick their battles, and they did amazingly in midweek. But I think maybe you just kind of think, let's let City have this one and prepare stuff in midweek.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Chelsea against Burnley. Burnley, after beating Aston Villa 3-2, will now face Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel's second game, probably a little bit more time to prepare. Before I go to Jimmy to the odds, James Benge wrote about the presser with Thomas Tuchel. It lasted a little bit longer than desired, I believe. James Benge, what's the latest on Thomas Tuchel as he prepares for this second game in charge for him?
Yeah, so I was at his official unveiling today. It's a bit strange having that after a game, but I have to say, I think he really charmed me. I think he knows he's fighting a uphill battle after Lampard's departure. We know Lampard's got friends in the media. The Chelsea fans love him. He came out and spoke phenomenally well. He's obviously had a text wishing him luck from Lampard as well, which hopefully will cool some of the more emotive heads around Chelsea. And he's come with a commitment to playing football in the right way. We maybe saw like little flashes of that against Wolves. It was a bit slow, but there was a real insistence on keeping the ball, and it will take time. It will take a lot of time before Tuchel ball, or whatever you want to call it, is really in place. Because you could tell they knew that they were supposed to pass, but they didn't really know what to do and how to get towards goal. But he certainly, from what I heard, I would be willing to give him time if I were a Chelsea player. He looks like a great manager. Name checked some youngsters he was looking forward to working with. Obviously, probably, I think he knows he's had a nice write-up from Christian Pulisic as well. So he's looking good. He's made a good first impression, and press conferences are obviously the most important thing.
Well, Christian Pulisic did help him in that game when he was trying to shout Azpilicueta's name and going, Azpili, Azpili. And Pulisic was like, hey, boss, it's Azpi. That was a fun little moment right there. But yeah, to your point, obviously it's going to take time. And he said it himself after the game. Listen, this is not about winning the title this season. It's about step by step. And also, especially when you change to a 3-5-2 formation, it's going to be interesting. Jimmy Conrad, thoughts on this game, odds, etc.?
I mean, there were some things I saw in the Wolves game from Chelsea where you're like, oh, they look like they have a plan for once, and maybe it wasn't being executed in maybe as efficiently as it's going to be in a couple weeks' time. But there was some thought and there was some ideas and Ziyech and Havertz kind of sitting in like kind of a double 10 spot, trying to find those gaps between the back line. There's some ideas and they were really trying to push up Chilwell and Hudson-Odoi really up high and kind of, 5-3-2-ish, 3-5-2-ish. I still think he's going to be tinkering for a while, but I do like what Tuchel's about. I know, it's fun. It's interesting. His reputation at the end of PSG, you're like, I think they're just tired of this guy, and you can see he was tired and maybe a little frustrated. He couldn't get more out of the squad than what he was getting. And now he comes here and like this fresh start feels good for everybody. So I'm excited to see how he does. However, Burnley, I just want to give a shout out to them. They have beaten Liverpool, Fulham, and Aston Villa in their last 3. So they're not going to be slouches coming into this. They've got a ton of confidence. And I think that I just feel like Chelsea at home in particular are pretty good. I like Chelsea to win, both teams to score plus 190. I'm going to stay away from the individual ones. You guys know I like to do from time to time because I don't know who's going to line up for Chelsea. I was really surprised to see Frank Lampard's son, Mason Mount, not starting, but I guess that makes sense since Lampard's not there anymore. So I'm kind of curious as to which lineup he's going to go with, who he wants to trust. We saw Giroud start last, and maybe Werner gets to start this time around. I don't know, but there's some ideas for Chelsea, and I think some of those will come through, and I think their talent's probably a little bit better than Burnley, and I think they're going to get the job done 2-1.
Well, if the biggest focus for Thomas Tuchel, which is 2 things actually, one is obviously retaining possession, more than 900 passes, etc., against Wolves, and the other one is recovering possession. Tuchel's obsessed with that, just getting that ball straight away back. Burnley, in a way, seems like the perfect opponent, James Benge, because they love to just wait and hold and counter and hit you on set pieces. So it should be interesting, especially a Burnley side who, like Jimmy said, is very, very confident.
I think it's going to be agony for Chelsea. I would not be at all confident if I were Thomas Tuchel because I think we don't talk about defending enough, and I don't want to go on a spiel. We do not have time for my Burnley a great spiel, but Burnley are great at making you take bad shots. Chelsea, I think they proved against Wolves, are more than willing to take a bad shot or two. You know, the actual shots they took were dreadful. So I don't really think that this is a good game for Tuchel and Chelsea at all. And I think they're going to lose. We've seen this with Burnley. They just did it to Liverpool. They sucker punch you. They encourage you to take shots from outside the box, from positions where Tarkowski and me can block. And you do it because it's a natural inclination. And then they go and win a set piece, win a penalty, and beat you, as Luis probably is feeling, is well aware of after last night. I think.
Listen, like I said in the tweet, I said, listen, Burnley is the football version of sand in your swimming trunks. They're just so annoying. They're so good at making sure that your chances of goals are almost close to zero. And then all they need is just one chance, especially from a set piece or whatever. They're very annoying, but you got to give them a lot of credit.
I got to raise my hand. I agree with Benge that Burnley are going to be tough. And if you want to agree with Benge and you think Burnley's going to win and both teams will score, it's plus 1,200. So you're going to owe Benge like a thank you card at the very least if you guys hit that. When I see the game against Aston Villa that they just played and they won 3-2, the first one's a set piece. It's a corner kick. Terrible marking there from Villa. That for me can be very easily rectified. Okay. And then the second goal they give up slips through, 15 guys, and Emi Martinez can't make the save. And honestly, pretty fortunate goal. The third one that you guys scored was a cross, and I actually thought the marking was pretty good. Chris Wood kind of hits it in, hits off the post, and goes in. All right, fair play. Those happen sometimes. For me, ultimately, though, pretty correctable. And I think defensively, Chelsea are better than Villa, with all due respect, especially how they're setting up now. Well, maybe they were like 2 months ago, but they have the possibility of being very stout defensively. Where I saw some big weaknesses for Burnley, when you watch the 2 goals that Aston Villa scored, they get absolutely decimated when the ball goes wide. Jack Grealish scores, bombing in late. Somebody else scores. I can't remember who scored the first one, coming in late. And all of a sudden they lose track of their runs. If Chelsea, who really under Lampard tried to create a lot of attacks out wide, if they commit real numbers going forward, I think they're going to have some success. And I think that Tuchel obviously will be watching that game as well and trying to say, hey, let's keep that going. Whatever Villa was doing there, let's try to mimic that, because clearly that's where Burnley struggles. So I'm curious as to, how they set up and where they attack, but it's clear that Tuchel was trying to create numerical advantages out wide, and I think they can take advantage.
Well, listen, I'm not going to say Burnley's winning this. I'm just telling you they're a very annoying team. No, I'm not going to say that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they're a very annoying team to play with. And just a few points on that game, Jimmy Conrad, by the way. Aston Villa had more than 60% possession, double the shots on target. You're absolutely right. Every single goal that Burnley scored should have been dealt with, especially the corner one that really shouldn't even be in a corner. Tyrone Mings made a completely wrong mistake. In the first half, it should have been 3-0 had it not been for England's best goalkeeper right now, Nick Pope. He was absolutely amazing. But the thing that I'm trying to make is that Burnley is so good. You just give us one chance, just one chance, and we'll take care of it. And that's the issue. But I do agree with your point. Thomas Tuchel is going to look at this and he's going to say, this is how we can basically take advantage of the moments when Villa didn't take them. Because in the first half, this game should have been over. But Burnley, to their credit, took absolute control. I'm going with a very narrow Chelsea win. It's going to be very difficult for them. So I'll go with like a 1-0, maybe even 2-1, and I'll stick with that. James Benge, you're sticking with that Burnley victory?
I'm sticking with my Burnley victory. Ashley Westwood, most underrated creator in the Premier League. He has some of the best expected assists numbers, and myself and Mike, my fellow nerd, cannot explain why.
Yeah. Well, we do miss him at Villa every now and again. How about you, Jimmy Conrad? You're staying with a Chelsea win?
You and I are rowing the boat in the same direction, Luis. I'm going 2-1.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you have it. All right. Well, that's it from the Premier League, because West Ham is playing Liverpool on Sunday, but because we're taping this as Tottenham is facing Liverpool, we don't really want to talk too much about it because obviously the lineups, etc. But we can tell you that it will be a very big game. Look at West Ham, everything that they're doing, and Liverpool trying to play catch up. Of course, this, doesn't include the fact that they're playing Tottenham. So we'll just stay with that and we'll move to the rest of Europe. We won't even take a break. We'll just keep going, boys. We will go now let's go to the Bundesliga, everybody, where very quickly there's some big games. And basically the theme of the story, as Jimmy Conrad rightly reminded us before we even started taping, is in these leagues, Serie A, Bundesliga, La Liga, the top teams, they just have to keep winning and hope that basically the leader hiccups at some point. Bayern Munich plays Hoffenheim, Borussia Dortmund against Augsburg, and the big one, definitely from a neutral perspective, RB Leipzig against Bayer Leverkusen. Jimmy, you have some odds here.
Well, I do. This is a tough one, and I hate to straddle the fence and say a draw, but I'm feeling like it. RB Leipzig versus Bayer Leverkusen, obviously two very hipster teams. You know, if you're going to pick a team to follow, I think, you know, a team that's right off the shoulder of Bayern Munich is one to do and get after. And obviously they have a lot of style and have some tremendous players on their team. Both of these teams have slipped up in their last couple games, and I'm going to look at it right now. So RB Leipzig have only won 2 out of their last 6. Bayer Leverkusen have won 1 out of their last 6. For all the kind of, I don't know, turmoil, let's say, that seems kind of harsh, but turmoil and maybe dramatic around Bayern Munich and their defense. They're just giving up a lot of sloppy goals, lost to Holstein Kiel in the cup, you know, gave up a 2-0 lead to Mönchengladbach to lose 3-2, just giving up a lot of goals in general. They're still got a 7-point lead at the top. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You know, Bayern Munich still just cruise. It's just what they do. They're going to win the Bundesliga for sure. So this one's interesting. It's a must win for both, but they're not playing particularly well. I think despite this result, I think everybody's just accepted the fact that Bayern are going to win it again. Nobody's really challenging them in a meaningful way. Like usual, right? Come out of the winter break and then Bayern takes off. I don't know. I don't know what to make of these two teams. All of a sudden, you know, I feel like every time, almost Ole Gunnar-esque, every time we talk about how great Julian Nagelsmann is for RB Leipzig, this terrific young manager, then he just throws up a lemon or a couple of lemons in a row. You're like, wait, is he good or is he not good? You know, and we feel like the same thing about Ole Gunnar. And of course, he's a great manager. And Peter Bosz at Bayer Leverkusen, you know, he's done very, very well, getting the most out of his guys. So talented, but then they win 1 out of their last 6. Just feels, I don't know, feels a little unacceptable. So I'm going to get the odds for you. I forgot to write that down, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts on these two teams in particular, because they're still outside shots. For me, Bayer Leverkusen is still a dark horse to win the Europa League. I mean, they have that type of talent and depth.
Yeah. Well, Leipzig has an excellent record against Leverkusen. They've won 4 games out of the total 9 matches played between the two teams. Forsberg is out for this one, I do believe. And, you know, it's just going to be a battle of wits, I guess. Because both are very talented. Both are trying to push for that second. James Benge, I can't remember if you were part of the episode, but one of the things that we were talking about, the Bundesliga, is, as Jimmy said, Bayern Munich clearly in the lead, clearly going to win this. Who is the second best team in this division?
Not a clue.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye. No, the thing I find it should be Leipzig. And it's just so funny when in England we're constantly talking about how Timo Werner hasn't settled. God, they miss Timo Werner. I mean, Emil Forsberg's out, you know, kind of central midfielder, attacking midfielder. He's their top scorer along with left back Angelino. Wow. 4 goals in the Bundesliga. Those two have got. I think Poulsen has the same number as well. It's, you know, that's the problem for Leipzig is and we saw this in the Champions League, even though they got through, is they didn't really manage to replace Werner. I haven't seen a huge amount of Leverkusen. Saw a bit of their Europa League games, and almost with them, the thing I like is they may not have one superstar goal scorer, but Alario gets a lot. Schick gets his fair share. Diaby's looked great over the last few months. Sort of brilliant goal back in December, I think. I like that they can share that goal burden, and for me, you know, in the end, it's goals that win you league games and win you, you know, a top 4 finish. And so I probably would fancy Leverkusen for the game.
Interesting. How about you, Jimmy? What was your final score for that one?
Oh man, I'm like draw central right now. But the lines, the basic lines are -110 for Leipzig to win. So for everybody that doesn't know, you got to bet 110 to win 100 if you see a minus there. Plus 275 for the draw. So bet 100 to win 275, or $10 to win 27.5, however you want to do it. And plus 300 for Leverkusen to win. I actually think I agree with Benge. I think that's some tremendous value given how diverse the attack is for Leverkusen. I mean, they're very good and they need something. They need a result like this. You know, they were, I just looking at their kind of run. They beat Borussia Dortmund a week ago, 2-1, but then they lost to Union Berlin 1-0 the game before that. And then they lost to Eintracht Frankfurt, but then beat Frankfurt. They're just so inconsistent. When they started the season so well, they were hovering around the top of the table. This is at some point, they have to get back on it and start playing well. And Diaby is a good shout. He's been excellent in particular. So yeah, I like Leverkusen plus 300. Why not? Let's throw it over to that and see what happens. But the draw, I can still see a 1-1.
I'll stick with that draw as well. But yes, watch out. By the way, watch out for Wolfsburg, who are still, you know, doing their thing out there. All right, let's move to Spain. The same rhetoric here, the same narrative here. Real Madrid faces Levante, Cadiz against Atletico, but a big one, Barcelona against Athletic Bilbao. It's basically about trying to keep up with the leader. But you had another game here, Jimmy Conrad, in La Liga this weekend.
Yeah, the Barcelona Athletic one is very good. Athletic plays today, so we don't really know how they're going to perform in the Cup, though they should beat a third division team, unlike Real Madrid, who couldn't do it last time around. That's my shade at all you Madridistas out there. But yeah, those are games that outside of the Barcelona one, Madrid and Atleti should win. I really like Villarreal versus La Real Sociedad. The Yellow Submarine is undefeated at home this season. They don't have Gerard Moreno, who scored a bunch of goals for them, or Samuel Chukwueze. But there's no David Silva for La Real. So here's my fun stat, and I think this will influence which the way you guys would want to bet. Villarreal unbeaten in their last 7 all competitions, haven't lost at home, like I said. Sociedad have won just once of their last 10 league games. And plus 145 for Villarreal to win. I feel like they're printing money at William Hill on that one. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer to put money on that. I just haven't seen enough from La Real recently. They haven't responded well after a great start. And, they got Manchester United looming as well in the Europa League. So I don't know. It's a tough time. But without Moreno and Chukwueze, that does limit Villarreal. They become a little bit more predictable and more one-dimensional in their attack. But anytime you have Danny Pereiro on your team, you still have a chance. So I like that. I like Villarreal to win straight up in that.
Well, in a Champions League spot right now, James Benge, it's Unai Emery's Villarreal, which is. How do you see this one or anything in La Liga?
As Jimmy said, the Villarreal La Real game looks super fun. It's interesting to see Yeremy Pino getting a lot of minutes under Unai Emery, who actually I think maybe his reputation for giving youth a chance is maybe not as high as it should be. He did it at PSG. He did it at Arsenal. It looks like he's doing it at Sevilla. Sorry, not Sevilla, Villarreal, with this Pino guy who looks like steel. As for Sociedad, I think it's pretty clear that their issue is that they're not really consistently scoring. I know that they've got two against Cordoba, 2 against Betis, but they haven't scored more than 2 in quite a while, I don't think. Maybe they're going to miss that spark of creativity that David Silva brings, that Martin Ødegaard would have brought had he not pulled out of that deal, which from what I've heard, he was very, very tempted by, no matter what Sociedad have said since. So they're kind of lacking a bit of spark, even though they're grinding it out. They're not the same team we saw earlier in the season. And Villarreal, it's not always easy on the eye watching Unai Emery teams, but they do get results. Emery does tend to get results.
And they're in 4th spot, which is really commendable for a tough Spanish league. All right, what's your final score here, Jimmy?
Yeah, I got just Villarreal winning. I'll say without Gerard Moreno, he had 10 goals for Yellow Submarine. With him being out, does make it a little bit more difficult. I could see a 1-0, 2-1. I mean, La Real always plays pretty tight games, no matter who the opponent is.
Yeah. James Benge?
Yeah, I'd say 1-0 Villarreal.
Yeah, let's go with that too. There you go. Well, everybody here's a Villarreal Yellow Submarine win against La Real. All right, let's go finally to Serie A. The same thing here. Actually, the most notable games are played on Saturday, at least the first 3, apart from Atalanta, Lazio. You have Bologna against AC Milan, Inter against Benevento, Sampdoria against Juventus, and Atalanta against Lazio. Once again, they face each other after facing each other in Coppa Italia. Jimmy, you have some odds for that one?
Yeah, that's the one that I think that's the sexiest. I do have some odds on Roma Verona, but I'll get into that in a sec. I like Atalanta. They just beat Lazio 3-2 in the Cup. It was 2-2 at half, so a ton of goals in that one. Duvan Zapata, Ilicic didn't start, and Ilicic didn't end up playing for Atalanta, so they're 2 top attackers. Zapata came on in the 60th minute and then missed a penalty, but they were down a man. They got a red card and still scored Atalanta, make it 3-2. Cheer the hero Immobile for Lazio, second leading goal scorer in Serie A. Didn't start either, came on with about 15 minutes left to go. So obviously like a second side for both, and Atalanta came through. Atalanta's hosting them again. I like Atalanta to win. I like over 2.5 goals. That's plus 122. Zapata to score, Atalanta to win 2-0, 2-1, or 3-1 is plus 500. I think Zapata's going to be pissed he missed a penalty, and he's going to want to get some redemption. I think he's going to get some chances for sure against that Lazio defense. But if you just want to play it safe without the score lines, Zapata to score, Atalanta to win, both teams to score plus 320. I do like Immobile to score. He just does it. I don't know how, but he finds space and figures out ways to hit the back of the net pretty much every single game. I think he's got 18 in his last 20 games in all competitions. It's pretty impressive. But if you want Immobile to score, Atalanta to win, which is a nice plot twist there. Both teams to score plus 450. I like one of those, and I like Zapata or Immobile if you guys want to throw them into the mix.
Oh, I'm taking that to the house. Immobile to score and Atalanta to win? Absolutely.
Yeah.
James Benge, without Papu Gomez, Atalanta, Gasperini, they just keep on trucking.
Keep on rolling. I'm looking at their results now. There's a weird period, the couple of games where they drew with Genoa and Udinese. And then in like every game, either side of that, they're scoring 3 or more goals. They battered AC Milan. Absolutely were great against Lazio. I think, though, I've worked out what Lazio need to do, because basically every game that Atalanta draw, it's where they have loads of the ball. Just give the ball to Atalanta and sit deep and challenge them to break you down. There's no Papu anymore. That seems like the most logical solution, because the less of the ball Atalanta have, the more dangerous they look. They're like a coiled spring. Just don't. If they just didn't even kick off, can't lose.
I love it.
Lazio's got a chance. Yeah.
How about that for a pre-game dressing room speech, right? Just let them do whatever.
Don't drop the ball.
Absolutely. All right, Jimmy, what was your final prediction in this one?
Yeah, I'll say 2-1 and Zapata to score. I like that one. That's plus 500. So sign me up for that.
All right, I'll go with the same scoreline with Immobile to score and take that one to the house, the one from the previous line. James Benge?
Both of the last 2 Atalanta-Lazio games have been 3-2. So let's make it a hat trick. 3-2 to Atalanta.
Nice. I like that.
Well, that's it.
No, I wanted to jump in really quick.
Oh, that's right. You have Verona. Go ahead.
I do have Verona. Roma, is hosting Verona. And Verona in particular, I looked at their fixtures, very good away from home. They've only lost twice away from home. One was the first game of the season. Let's just throw that one out, right? You never know what's happened in the first game of the season. They just lost to Bologna away. But they drew with Juve. They drew with Milan. They beat Atalanta. They beat Lazio. They drew with Fiorentina. Like, these guys can play away from home. I think they're not being treated with the respect bookie-wise they should. Roma, for me, with Edin Dzeko now having a falling out with the manager Fonseca and now him wanting to leave, is a problem. I would be nervous about that, because I've been in teams before where the best player maybe butts heads with the manager, and it throws off the vibe. Like, if you didn't know what was going on, sometimes you don't. But if there was some frustration, that was probably seeping in as well. I think that could throw Roma off in this game, especially against a team that I saw in Verona, who's pretty good away from home. The straight up lines are Roma to win straight up minus 150, plus 290 for the draw. I would look at that. Plus 420 for Verona to win. I could see them going in and stealing points. Roma are in third right now. They always get a little like shaky once they get kind of close to the top. That's as a Roma fan, I know this. It's just like they can't handle the pressure of being close to the top. So they like to they're more comfortable in 5th or 6th. And that's just that vibe of the Roma team currently. So I could see them dropping points here. Very similar to Sheffield and Manchester United. Like, you just can feel that Sheffield's probably going to get a result, even though they shouldn't, given how they've been performing. So that's just something for you guys to look at if you're looking for something a little exotic.
Well, amidst the Rona, Verona could beat Roma.
Oh my God. Listen, we're ending it. It's over.
James Benge, before we say goodbye to you, any final thoughts?
I have a question for Jimmy based on what he was just saying. Jimmy, were you ever the best player on your team? And if you were, did you ever, finagle a little move out of the club?
Wow. Yes. So there was a time where, I don't know, somewhat biased. I guess I was arguably one of the best players on our team from a defensive perspective, for sure. And I was with the national team, and there was an opportunity for me to potentially go to the New York Red Bulls. And given that the coach and I didn't really see eye to eye, which ultimately played out, I didn't end up going, but there was some talk there, and my agent was trying to maybe make it happen because they were offering me a lot more than Kansas City at the time. So yeah, these are the things you think about, and that does start to, in some ways, because that conversation was had, then the coach didn't think I was being loyal anymore, and he wanted to ship me out. He actually took the captain's armband away from me because of it.
Wow.
That's I've actually never talked about that before, but
there you go.
Exclusive. We're just a Golazo exclusive.
Yeah, I know, but I wish we had more time to talk about it and get into it. One day we'll get into it. Well, James Benge, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to read his latest content on cbssports.com. James Benge on Twitter. Thank you, James.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Que Golazo. It's now just me and Jimmy Conrad as we discuss the Americas. A lot of news from this side of the world. And of course, we begin, Jimmy, with Copa Libertadores final. An all Brazilian final. This year's final will be the third to feature two Brazilian teams. In 2005, Sao Paulo defeated Atlético Paranense, and then the next year, Internacional beat Sao Paulo, and they're facing Santos Palmeiras, who won the title once before in 1999. But Santos, the former club of Pelé, Neymar, has won it 3 times, twice with Pelé in 62 and 63, once with Neymar in 2011. Should be a very interesting one. Of course, it's in an empty Maracanã Stadium at Rio de Janeiro. Should be interesting. Basically, Abel Ferreira is looking to become the second Portuguese coach to win Copa Libertadores after, of course, Jorge Jesus did it last time with Flamengo. But Cuca, the opposing coach, is going to try and figure this out. He's got plenty of experience, by the way, in these kinds of competitions. He won the South American club title in 2013 with Atlético Mineiro. So this is going to be a good one. I mean, God, I wish there were fans in this stadium. Obviously, safety and health is the most important thing, but should be interesting from a neutral perspective. What do you have for us?
100%. And I'm sad that there will be no fans as well. I've been to the Maracanã. I went there for a World Cup quarterfinal, France versus Germany. And then I was there for the World Cup final, Argentina versus Germany. So I have some special memories of that stadium and being there for that. So it's one of the great ones around the world. And if you have a bucket list, everybody, you should get down to the Maracanã at some point. I'm still a little disappointed as a Boca Juniors fan. I'm going to be honest. They had a great chance of getting into the final to play their biggest rivals, who in the other semifinal River Plate, the 2 top Argentine clubs. But we're here with an all Brazilian final. And what I find interesting is that let's look at current form, right? I mean, you've given some great insight and context, and I think this is a competition that doesn't get anywhere near the love and respect that it deserves. It's the Champions League of South America, everybody, and it's kick-ass, and there's so many great games and great storylines, and hopefully it gets respect. It starts to get more respect. I mean, I think most people do, but it's just like we don't get to see it as much, right? Champions League is always in our face, but we need some more Copa Libertadores in our lives. CBS, I'm looking at you. Acquire those rights. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So what I wanted to add is let's look at current form. Both of them haven't won a game in their last 3. They're not playing well right now. And you have to wonder if that's due to, I'm sure there's injuries and some COVID issues and all types of different stuff that's going on. But you have to wonder if they're thinking about this one now. Like this is, I mean, they haven't won it in a long time. And 1999 for Palmeiras in particular is quite some time. I don't know. There's something about Santos that I really like in this one. I like Cuca. I like what he's been saying before, that his team is psychologically ready for this. I actually think whoever scores first is going to end up winning it. I think that's just really going to unlock some things and take the pressure off. They're going to get after it and play from there. And it's going to be a lot more pressure on the team that doesn't. But I'll give you the lines on William Hill. Straight up for Palmeiras to win is plus 125. The draw is plus 210, and Santos is plus 240. I like that for whatever reason. Santos is mid-table in Brazil right now. Palmeiras is, let me see. Palmeiras is in 5th. But again, they've drew their last one and lost their last 2 before that. Santos' last 3 straight. Santos gives up a lot of goals. I'll say that. They've scored 44 in the league and given up 44. So I think there's going to be some goals in this one. I don't know. They're not the favorites, but there's something about that squad that I really like, and I'm kind of giving them the edge right now. But maybe you can talk me out of it, Luis.
Well, no. The thing is about this game, specifically because of their recent run and the fact that just from a performance perspective and who they are as a club right now, there's actually very little to separate them. So that makes for a very intriguing final. Just a few pieces of note, by the way. Santos' captain, Alisson, he's currently just recuperating from COVID as well. His presence will be uncertain. So that could be a big loss. But I think judging from what we saw in the semifinals, when both teams just about managed through, right? Especially Santos, I think, just trying to deal with the Argentine contingent, just trying to get there. And they were just being a little resilient, but not resilient enough. But they just about made it. So this to me is about 2 teams who are currently on an imperfect run, about to face each other in the biggest game. Well, for them, at least, definitely right now. As you mentioned, Copa Libertadores is a tremendous tournament. And the entertainment value alone is fantastic. And the fact that it's an all Brazilian final should be that much more intriguing. I'm going to go. Oh, this is tough. Before I make my decision, you wanted to say something. So quickly, go ahead.
Well, no, I just wanted to say that there's some good lines on the anytime goal scorer. Mourinho, he's plus 175 to score anytime. He has 16 goals and 6 assists for Santos. He didn't score in both legs against Boca Juniors. I like him to be up for this one. I like him to have an impact. I like him to want to make history and be ready. And I think Kuka's going to have him ready. So that's just somebody to look at with regard to that. But what are you thinking, Luis? Who are you leaning towards?
Well, I think, listen, here's the thing. When Palmeiras became the first Brazilian team to beat Gallardo's River Plate over 2 legs in a CONMEBOL tournament, the first Brazilian team to do so, I feel that might be enough to push them through all the way. So let's go with Palmeiras in extra time.
Extra time. Wow.
Let's go 3-2. Let's just go crazy. It's annoying because this game, by the way, is 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific on Saturday, same time as Southampton Villa. So I'm going to have to do a double screen here.
Yeah, you are. The last time these 2 teams played, by the way, was 2-2 in the league.
Okay, so there'll be goals.
Palmeiras got a red card. Yeah, so I'm looking at all this now, and I had seen it before, but that's the most recent between, as you mentioned, right when you first started your breakdown, Luis. I mean, there's not much separating these teams. I will say, though, I think Palmeiras has a little bit more diversity in attack. They have a couple goal scorers, Luis Adriano, and who's got 10 goals. They got
Rony as well.
Yeah, they have Rafael Vega. He's got 11 goals. Rony's got 4.
Yeah.
They just got guys that maybe can hurt you in different ways. I just think in a one-off, Santos has got a chance, even if they're not playing well. But Palmeiras won out of their last 6. Now, the one win was a 4-0 thumping of Corinthians, one of their biggest rivals. I don't know. I love this. I wish we could take a deeper dive into this because I love this competition and all these teams in particular. But yeah, I got Santos. I think they're going to pull the upset. I like the plus 240. Maybe let me see the bet. Let me see best team props. Mourinho. I think Mourinho will score, or Marinho. So it's not Jose Mourinho. So I'm not saying it the same way.
We're going to get confused.
Yeah, they get confused. But Santos, I think with both teams to score and Santos winning plus 600, man, I'll put $10 on that and try to win 60.
That's pretty good.
Why not?
Yeah. What about that, but with Palmeiras?
400 plus 400. So
okay,
both
so
teams
either
score.
one.
Palmeiras.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad cheddar there. Good
Well,
William Hill again. Sometimes some bets on William Hill, man. Like I think they're handing this free money. You just have to find the value.
Especially Copa Libertadores. I feel that's a tournament. Well, I hope you all enjoyed because it's on Saturday. Should be a cracking final. All right, I want to keep going here because the United, we talked about games. By the way, the United States men's national team is playing Trinidad and Tobago on Sunday night. Obviously, super experimental side, but just another chance for Gregg Berhalter to see what he has. What do you have here?
Yeah, well, there's no lines that I see on William Hill, so let's just break it down without any gambling perspectives. Trinidad haven't played a meaningful game in 14 months, so that in itself is something to take into consideration. The U.S. have been training for a few weeks. There's this thing out there, the January camp, and I'm going to bring this up because it's very personal to me, and I just, if people are listening to this and have made it to the end of the pod, I hope your ears are still open. It has been phrased, this January camp, as camp cupcake. Like people dismiss it because it's only MLS players or Scandinavian players on a break. I made my career with the national team in a January camp because I got to be around the coaching staff for 3 weeks. It's not like I got brought into a qualifier. I've got 2 days to impress and not really training. You get to find some diamonds in the rough like myself because of these 3 weeks. Name me another national team around the world that has a camp like this. They just don't have it, but we do. And I think it's such a valuable tool. And so for people to casually dismiss it, really pisses me off, Luis. And so this is a great opportunity. And we talked to Christian Roldan yesterday on HQ. He's one player in particular. He can get in there, and as Gregg Berhalter starts to mold all the European guys that we talk about all the time with this young domestic talent, Roldan's got 18, 19 caps. He can come in and still be a guy we can rely on. He might not start every game, but he can come on with what happens if McKinney gets hurt? What happens if Tyler Adams gets hurt? All of our golden boys, you still have to have guys that can step up and make plays and do the business. So I just don't like when people casually dismiss this camp or casually dismiss MLS players because we're not winning shit. Sorry, pardon my French, without guys that you don't win a team with 11. You win with 18, 23 guys. Like you have to have depth. And so I think it's really important to make sure that this camp isn't dismissed. And that's my personal message there. You can tell I'm still a little hot about it.
No, listen, I think what you just said is right on point. I think people really don't understand, especially American fans, just how privileged they are to have an opportunity to just, okay, our European guys are doing this, whatever. We have the infrastructure, we have the time, we have the patience, we have the possibilities of bringing in other players. And like you said, discover diamonds in the rough. Absolutely. And listen, especially at the very beginning of a culture setting standard by Gregg Berhalter, where you can just tell players who have never even anticipated that this could ever happen to them. You are now beginning to snowball a culture, a winning culture, a competitive culture, and a family. And like you said, every now and again, a player that you may not have even thought about could come out and deliver as yourself. So absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely living proof of that. And so I take it kind of personal, obviously. You can tell, I think, in my voice and my tone. But I will also say that it almost hurts when fans casually dismiss it as well. I mean, these players that go in have sacrificed so much. And for them to get a call into the national team, even if it's quote unquote camp cupcake, could you imagine, like, you're working your whole life to get to this spot and people are like, nah, it doesn't count because that's not all our best players. Like, but, you know, I've worked so hard for this opportunity. I've worked so hard to be in front of this coaching staff for 3 weeks. Why would you want to take that away from somebody? And the people that are trying to take that away are people that would kill to be in that same spot. So it's just really interesting to me that, like, there's this jealousy or bitterness that comes in and seeps into the fan stuff. But I'll leave that aside. What I wanted to say about this game in particular is that it's a huge opportunity for those players that have been doing well in training for the last 3 weeks in this camp cupcake to now go and perform when the lights are on, TVs are watching, fans are watching, TV cameras are watching, everybody's watching, including a whole bunch of TVs apparently. You know, now you have to go out and perform when the pressure's on. And now you're going to start to see who can handle it. Because you'll find out also quickly because this game, there's nothing on it. If guys can't handle the pressure when there's nothing really on this national team game, then you're never going to trust them in a game when it matters, right? So not only do you identify players that can help, you also identify players that, like, thank you for your time. Enjoy your cup of coffee with the national team. We're probably not going to see you again, right? So it works both ways. And I think it continues to allow us to find how we're going to strengthen our squad. And also, to your point, continue to build a winning culture.
Yep. I just see it as the equivalent of an NFL preseason training camp. It's like it goes here and then it just goes down.
Super cutthroat.
Yep. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Final thing before we say goodbye. I think it's important to talk about this. Naomi Osaka, the 3-time Grand Slam tennis champion of Japan, has invested in the North Carolina Courage of the NWSL to become a team owner. And she said, the women who have invested in me growing up made me who I am today. I don't know where I would be without them. It's just great to see this sort of energy amongst really inspiring athletes, especially female athletes, and just doing their part to not just be involved in the NWSL and other leagues, etc., but also actually take ownership, active ownership. We've seen it, of course, in LA with their upcoming team as well. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's another big name that is very vocal. She's very expressive on the internet and on social media. And I like that because I think she's going to hold some people accountable. Like, if things aren't going well, I don't know if it's less about performance, more about maybe how the leagues run. How are we going to get more people involved? That's one. Secondly, I think when her name is attached, you start to get more sponsors. Oh, wow. You start to, perk the ears of people that have a whole bunch of money to spend. And where are we going to invest that money from a marketing perspective? Oh, wow. Naomi Osaka wants to get in. Maybe we look at the, North Carolina Courage. So there's that ripple effect that I think comes from that. But really, ultimately, what's going to make or break the league, like any sports league, is butts in the stands. And I know right now that doesn't work in the COVID world, but when it does come back and things we find this new normal and we can go back into stadiums, people have to go out and support the league. I'm excited about Angel City in LA. I'm from LA and I have a Dabinia jersey from NC Courage. I want to get a Becky Sauerbrunn, jersey from the Thorns. I want to support the league. I want to make sure, and we have to do that. So I think that's really important for the development, not only for our national team and the domestic league, but also just to kind of show, the young women in our country that this sport matters to us on both sides, the men and the women.
Yeah, and don't forget, CBS Sports has the rights to the NWSL when the Challenge Cup returns. And by the way, the NWSL was the very first league that came back from our soccer world here in North America before MLS bubble, before even the NBA, etc. So hats off to them, and let's see what happens in the Challenge Cup later in spring. Jimmy Conrad, that is it. We did it. We talked about everything.
What an episode. Yeah, I'm out of breath. I don't even know what else I can talk about.
Well, I'm not even going to ask you final thoughts because I feel like we're done. The only thing I'll say is have a great weekend. Jimmy Conrad, thank you so much again, brother.
Yeah, I look forward to Sunday. I look forward to recapping everything we just talked about.
Hey, everybody. I want to thank James Benge and Jimmy Conrad for joining me today. Don't forget to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. We are everywhere, cbssports.com. Please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps others find the show and for our family to grow even more. Have a great weekend.